Hey everybody, Edo here, and I am excited because I have Matt Holden, Executive Director of Indie Game Alliance. Say hello, Matt.
Hey, hey.
Hey, Matt. And I'm excited because Indie Game Alliance is this incredible organization that is working to better indie publishers, indie developers, indie creators. And I've been a part of it for some time. I mean, I want to say almost 3 years, something like that. And there's also different tiers of membership and all sorts of things going on, and we're going to talk all about it. But to start, Matt, can you just give a brief introduction on Indie Game Alliance, and then also I try to do this origin story thing, like how you got started, when, like sort of what is it, and how it came to be.
Sure. So it's probably easier to start at the beginning. So in 2014, I was talking with Brotherwise Games, the folks who do Boss Monster, about helping them set up a demo program. And the challenge we ran into was basically, well, they only had one game at the time, so somebody can go demo it for them 10,000 times, and the only thing they're going to be able to earn is another copy of Boss Monster because it was the only game they had. We realized that that was going to be a problem for a lot of folks that are indie publishers. And so we said, well, what if we had a situation where we had a few companies work together and make it where you could demo this company's game and earn that company's and sort of pool our resources. We were hoping we could get 5 or 6 companies to sign on, and that would be enough to kind of power the engine. And we're at, I think, 721 now.
It's a huge
So
number. I mean, basically everybody. I mean, that is a
uh,
huge number.
it's getting there. I mean, it's crazy. We always think, how many more can there be, and then, every month like clockwork, 20 to 25 new joins. So
I mean, that would be interesting. I'm sure it's on your website somewhere, but even just publishing or looking at what that list is of all those companies would be fascinating in and of itself.
it is on the website, indiegamealliance.com/members.
So you should be a member, but if you're not, you can just go look at this litany of the who's who in small, mid-sized publishers. I mean, it's pretty cool. But keep going with your story.
So, basically, our intent was to launch at Gen Con 2014, and we were hoping if we had 5 members, we'd be in good shape. When we actually showed up at Gen Con, we had 63 members and signed another dozen at the show. Since then, it's been growing an average of 25 to 30 companies a month. What started as just a demo program has over time sort of become more of a full service guild where we've tried to add additional services, kind of advocating on their behalf with manufacturers, with advertising opportunities, and everything else we can do to try to leverage the fact that a small company doesn't really have the resources to make as much of an impact in the industry as somebody like a Tasty Minstrel or somebody like that. So we try to kind of put our organization behind them to give them that little bit of extra boost and level the playing field a little bit.
And that's something that I've noticed, which is over the years you've just kept increasing the services you offer and opportunities. I mean, even when we were last talking, you were talking about the manufacturing discounts and just a plethora of things that you can do to offer and support indie publishers, or even not so indie publishers. And but so one of your core programs, and any publisher that's interested, right? Go to the website, sign up. There's like a free tier, and then there are different sort of levels of engagement, right? Or do you just have two now? What's the
Uh, we,
membership tiers?
we currently have 2. We have the standard we call IGA Starter, which is our free plan. It gets you access to our demo team. It basically is if our volunteers already have your games, they can go out and demo them. If they want to buy them, they can go out and demo them, that sort of stuff. But obviously, us shipping games out all over the world costs us money, and so we ask if you want us to actually distribute games that you become a part of our pro membership, which is $20 a month or $200 a year.
Right. And so to break this down, one of the key things that you're doing is that demo support, which is across the United States and apparently more across the world now. You can go into that in a second. You have your minions, and these are people who live in different states and different communities, and essentially demo games at stores and cons and events, right? Um,
That
and either they have the game, or as part of the program, the publisher is providing them or providing you guys with 5, 10, 20 games to send out to demo, right?
So the way it works, assuming that the designer is a pro member, or the publisher, I should say, what would happen is when our minions run a demo, they can go to a store, they can go to a con, libraries, churches, schools. We have some folks that demo in a Panera Bread. Wherever they can get people to sit down and play, we're fine with, as long as it's not somebody's house. When they run the demos, they go on our website, they fill out a report, which takes them about 30 seconds. Two things happen when they file that report. One, the publisher gets an email with all the feedback, all the details, a picture, where it was played, by who, was a purchase made, all that. The second thing is our volunteer earns what we call loot points, which they can then spend on our website on any games we have in stock, and we'll ship it out to them. So that way the publishers don't have to worry about dealing with individual orders to volunteers and tracking, did people actually do the demo, did they not, any of that. They ship me a carton or two of games, and then everything else just happens from there.
Right, right. And so those games are used for a combination of demo purposes, but also rewards to these demoers for the volunteers to sort of spend those loot points towards, right?
Well, it works both ways with the same copy, because anything that we send out as a reward to a volunteer, they're going to then take that copy and go out and run demos with it.
Right, right.
So, the games are theirs to keep, but that's how they're going to build up their library of demo games over time.
Right. And so, what's your profile of minions? How many minions do you have in the States and otherwise?
We have about 375 minions total in the program. We add, a couple a month. I'd say probably 75 to 80% of them are based in the U.S., but we've got a pretty fair representation starting up in Europe, and some in Canada, and then we've got a few sort of sprinkled around. There's 2 or 3 that operate in Africa, 1 or 2 in Asia, things like that. We've mostly focused on Europe and the U.S. for now, and we'll continue to grow as we can.
And in terms of the demo work, I mean, the only other company that I'm aware of that's sort of actively doing this, and you might know more, is probably Double Exposure, right? Because they sort of run around and are doing that sort of demo, but they're a more expensive engagement for a publisher to sort of work with, way more expensive than the free or $200 that you're mentioning per year. Are you essentially, do you guys bump into each other while you're around? I mean, how would you sort of describe your services in comparison to theirs? Is it, because I know some people are familiar with their stuff.
I mean, I don't want to get into too many details of their operation, just because, frankly, I don't know them. And, maybe the best thing to do would be for you to have Avanel on or something to talk about their, or Vincent, to talk about their
very,
stuff.
Nice, very, very well answered, sir.
But what I can tell you is everything that I've heard from our members is that the Envoy service is quite a bit more expensive. Some of the folks have told me that it's less expensive to use us for a year than it is to use Envoy for a month. And as best I can tell, more of Envoy's services are geared toward the larger indies, the Tasty Minstrels, the Strongholds, folks of Portal, folks of that size.
Sure. I've never been able to afford them, so.
And like I said, for an organization of that size, what they do is fantastic, because they can afford to, do some really classy things, and lots of respect to them for that. What we try to do is, first of all, we're not just the demo team. With Envoy, you're pretty much getting demos, and that's about it, at least as I understand it.
Sure, okay. and I will take you up on that, and I will reach out to Vincent and get him on the Q&A.
You kind of put me on the spot with this.
I apologize.
It's okay. The other thing that, like I said, because they do the demos and that's pretty much it, they're fantastic for, again, companies the size of a Portal or Tasty Minstrel who don't really need help getting their manufacturing done, help getting their Kickstarter out,
right.
Help getting, finding an artist,
right.
Things like that. We offer those services, and, the larger companies don't really miss it in our
Sure.
in
Oh, sure, sure.
for Envoy.
Well,
But
let's talk about those a little bit. So, I mean, I'm familiar with you sort of have a closed group forum, Facebook group where we talk about things and people ask questions and that kind of thing. And certainly you have your newsletter. But when you're talking about helping somebody find an artist or with a Kickstarter, what kinds of services or what kind of support do you offer indie publishers?
well, I'd say probably the biggest thing other than promotion is the discount program. We've negotiated with I think 17 different printing companies now. I was literally answering an email from an 18th when you Skyped in. Um, so we do a lot of that. We help out with freight forwarding, get discounts on the shipping, everything else like this. And my hope is that if we can drop the goal on a Kickstarter or the MSRP by 5, 6, $10, that results in more people backing, more campaigns funding. The other thing is because we have a feedback system that goes along with our partner program, we hope that it steers folks to the reputable companies. And I think there's a temptation in some indie publishing because they're so cost conscious because of the Kickstarter that
Sure, sure.
there's a temptation to say, well, Brilliant or Long Pack offered me this quote, but I'm going with Guy in a Van Printing because it was 10 cents cheaper a copy.
You
And you
never know
can't
with
blame
Guy in
them.
a Van. They work
You
hard.
don't.
They try.
So we hope that the discounts will not only help them save money and be more profitable, which in turn leads to indie companies having second and third games, but that it'll drive them towards vendors that won't leave them out to dry. So that because at the end of the day, the Kickstarter backer doesn't really care that it was the printer that screwed up. They
Sure,
look at it and say
sure.
your campaign was 6 months late. So we just do everything we can to try to help them be successful. We also do a lot of consulting. I'll sit down with folks and do usually about a 90-minute call about a week before their campaign launches, go through their campaign, make sure there's no gotchas in there. Everything from checking for typos all the way up to, hey, you forgot to charge shipping on this, and and have you really thought through these stretch goals? Are you aware that adding miniatures is going to cost you a lot more money than you think it will? And
Right, because
you know,
you're servicing, both middle or somewhat experienced Kickstarter publishers, but you're also working with quite a number of first timers, right?
Absolutely. I would say probably 50 to 60% of the Kickstarters we support are from people who have never had a successful Kickstarter before.
Right, right, right.
And a lot of folks, sometimes we have a relaunch, folks that take 2 or 3 tries to get over the hump, and that's okay too. Like I said, we do everything we can to make everything, if we can make every part of indie publishing 5% easier than it was, I feel like we're doing our job.
Sure. I mean, that's an incredible. An incredible impact. It doesn't sound when you say 5%, it doesn't sound like a go up, but that's pretty altruistic. So where are you going? I mean, you started out pretty small. You grew pretty quickly because clearly people needed this type of support and service. You've built out these minions. You've got a huge number of publishers, albeit maybe some of them are small, but just a huge volume of them. I mean, where if we were to see you guys and if we had a call again in 2 years or 3 years, I mean, where do you see what's your trajectory right now as an organization?
Well, we'd love to continue to grow out our services. You know, as we talked about, we try to keep our prices very low. So for us to do sort of some of the more intense services we want to offer, we simply can't afford to at
Sure.
the price that we charge. And we don't ever want to be in a situation where we price the smaller guy out of our program.
Sure.
So a lot of it for us is about volume. You can be Netflix and make $1 billion if you do it $9 at a time times as many people as they have.
There might
So
not be that many publishers, but
there may not be, but give Kickstarter another couple of years and we'll see. Uh, but we, like I said, anything we can do to take another bit of an edge off, we can. So, I would love to at some point, get into helping people do Kickstarter fulfillment maybe, or partner with someone who does.
Sure.
One of the things that I'm learning about this industry is that there's so much to do that it doesn't really make sense to do it all, but to just hook up with good people who do it and do it well and do it affordably
Yeah.
and just you know there are certain wheels that it doesn't make sense for me to reinvent.
Well, sure, and some of it turns into the references, right? I mean, if you're looking at, hey, here's a deal with a couple fulfillment centers, here's a deal with a couple manufacturers, here's a deal with this, or here's a deal with that. I mean, that might allow you to have those relationships and those support networks, but not necessarily suddenly be packing and shipping games out of your garage, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's nobody wants that.
yeah, we've done it though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think so. I mean, I think you've actually given a pretty good picture of what IGA is doing. I mean, again, at least checking it out and being a member is pretty simple. It's a quick sign up, and I mean, the last time I was in the site, it was pretty easy to navigate. You continue to consider updates to your site and to your services, but you have some nice tables and charts that are sort of like, here's what the normal, here's the free account, here's the pro, here's what you get, all that stuff. Um, is there any area or part of what you guys do that I've missed?
Well, I mean, we covered the discounts, we covered the demo program. We do have the freelancer board where folks can go and find an artist or a graphic designer, or video producer, something like that, to help out with your projects.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second, because I mean, boards for finding and connecting with people are pretty useful. I mean, obviously there are some on BGG and other places, but how is anyone free? Any non-member? Like, if I'm an artist, which I'm not, but let's say an artist is watching and they're like, oh, hey, I wouldn't mind finding some indie publishers to do some work for. Do they just go to your website and put their name down, or how does an artist or a graphic designer get involved in your program?
They would click join just like a publisher would, and it would ask them, what are you looking to join as? And you can just say, I am an artist, I'm a
Oh, okay.
graphic designer, I do editing, and that will create them a profile on our website. And once they're up there, they can list their credits and they can say, I worked on Herbaceous or Liftoff or whatever
Sure.
games they want, and then you as a publisher can then go in and say, well, as the publisher of Liftoff, I worked with this person, and this is the feedback I have as far as they were. You can rate them on speed, quality, communication, and price, and then they get an overall rating based on average.
Oh, so that's pretty sophisticated. And but then you're not involved in the transactions. I mean, this is just a board to meet, but otherwise, once they're connected with the artist, they're just handling that all directly.
Yes, the only thing we would get involved with is if there was a situation where an artist was just like ripping people off or
Oh,
something
sure.
along those lines. I might try to mediate just to help out a little, but for the most part, I'm not involved in any sort of introductory communications or anything like that.
Got it. Well, that's pretty cool, and certainly for those watching who are artists or graphic designers or designers in general, should certainly check that out. And I guess for manufacturers and publishers that are interested, also worth reaching out to. What is your? I mean, the is it indiegamealliance.com, or is it something different than that?
It's indiegamealliance.com.
And what's your email or best way to contact you with questions and that kind of thing?
You can hit support at
And then
indiegamealliance.com.
it'll go to you. Awesome. Uh, so wait, okay. So were there any other ones? I interrupted you at the forums.
And that's the big stuff. We do sales at conventions. So once we have copies of games in our warehouse to send out to minions, they can opt in or not for us to sell at cons for you. So let's say you weren't able to get a booth at Gen Con. That's okay. We'll take your game and we'll sell it out of our booth. And anything we sell at MSRP, and we split the money 50-50. We just send it to you in a PayPal within 30 days of when the con is over. So you just sit on your couch and money happens, which for folks that have one or two games is great, because it's kind of hard to really fill out a 10 by 10 booth where you're sitting
Oh,
there selling
sure, and it's
one
expensive.
game.
So
Exactly.
and I've certainly seen you guys set up at Gen Con and stuff. But What would you say your con coverage is? I mean, how many cons are you guys going to right these days?
Well, going to cons, we're at probably about 75 a year.
That's
Um,
like all of them, right? I mean, what's left after
well,
75?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of like small local cons
I see.
that our minions are doing and so forth. The one we haven't really gotten into too much. We're still working on trying to get into BGG, and we're still working on the PAX shows. We were going to be doing. We were hoping to do PAX and BGG this year, and instead, I'm getting married that weekend. So
Well, that's
I
a
will.
wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing.
Yes, so I'll be at Wedding Con in November, and but. So we've had folks that have been out to Essen. We've had obviously Gen Con, Origins. We had a private room at Dice Tower Con for IGA members this year.
Oh, that's
Uh,
nice. That's fun.
our team, we do a lot of demos at like the Strategicon shows and San Diego Comic Con, all the California shows. And over time, as finances permit, we've been trying to expand that from just having a demo presence to having the vendor booths. But as you said, it's quite expensive and logistically not just getting the booth, but badges and hotels and shipping product across the country and back. It runs probably about $10,000 a show to do.
Right, sure. And so, do you also say a publisher is going to a show but needs demo support or support in the hall or whatever? Do you coordinate that kind of thing as well, or how would that normally work?
We don't have like an official rent a minion service because we basically don't want to be bidding against our members for the staff we need to operate at an event. But what we'll do in a lot of cases, if IGA is not going to have an official presence at a show, we will just basically go in our minion group and say, hey, is there anybody going to BGG Con that wants to
Sure.
help these folks out? This is what they're offering. For a situation where somebody's at a con and they're just like, I just need an extra body in my booth. We don't really do an awful lot. That is one thing that Envoy does.
Sure.
So if somebody is looking for that, Envoy would be a great option for that.
Got it. Got it. And right. So I mean, to sum it all up, it sounds like what you guys are trying to do is just really help be some of the fabric that allows smaller publishers with limited resources or limited staff to behave and act a little bigger, to be a little smarter, and just sort of communicate and work with the rest of the indie developers and indie publishers, right?
That's basically it. Like I said, we stumbled on the word guild as sort of the right in the combination of training and just blunting that learning curve a little bit for folks and providing sort of a leg up in everything we can. Just like I said, try to make it just a hair easier for them in any way that we can. And we're always looking for sort of a new way that, some new pain point for an indie developer that we can make just a hair easier if we can.
Got it. Well, awesome. So we have the website, your contact information. We went through it, and you said you're getting married, so you're not going to be at BGG or PAX Unplugged. Those are, I guess, the next two big ones.
Yeah, I'm done with major conventions probably for the year.
Until things start up again next year.
Yeah.
Cool.
But my team is doing stuff. Let me see here. What do we have going? We're actually at Stanley's Los Angeles Comic Con coming up. We're at Anime NebraskaCon in Nebraska next month.
And is it what you're looking at? Is this just openly accessible on your site, or is this some private?
Yep. I literally just scrolled down on the front page of IndieGameAlliance.com.
Awesome. Well, certainly, again, for those watching, I've been a on and off active but member of IGA for some time. I don't know if you have dated amounts, and you could tell me later when I started, but and certainly it's been fun to watch you guys get bigger and take on more services and support more people. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, that's a lot of publishers, man. I mean, that's a lot to sort of manage. So hopefully, you don't go too crazy and are able to have some time to get married and all those good things.
Well, I mean, in most situations, I would say I'll have my assistant take care of it while I'm away, but she's who I'm marrying. So, fun fact, you joined on September 25th, 2014. So you just had your 3-year anniversary.
Nice. And that was that, I'm trying to remember. I think that was after the Liftoff campaign.
It was during the Liftoff
campaign.
campaign.
In the middle of it. Look at that. Look at that. And that was pretty. I mean, how long had you guys been around? I feel like I wasn't. I was in the early mix, right? I mean,
Yeah, because we launched in April 2014. So we probably, if I had to wager a guess, we probably met at Gen Con that year.
yes,
Uh,
that sounds right. That sounds right. I think I might have joined prior to that, but we definitely met there. And then I think the next year at Gen Con, you guys sold Liftoff out of your booth, or maybe Gem Packed or something like that. Um,
no, actually, I don't think we've ever sold Liftoff out of our booth for you. We did hand out a couple copies to volunteers, but I don't think we've ever
maybe
sold it.
that's it. I also remember small interesting fact. It was actually at your booth one year that I met Keith Mateka
Yeah.
with Bullfrogs. I don't know if you had the copy or he had the copy or we were just talking over there, but that's how I met him, and I've known that guy for some time. So cool. 2014, it's 2017, 3-year anniversary. You know, you should start making pins and badges and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, we have an achievement system on our website.
all right,
So
I got to go check my achievements. Awesome, man. Well, thanks again, and I think this has been some, for those who aren't familiar with you guys, an opportunity to get familiar. And again, certainly, I recommend people check out the site. Anything else you want to add?
just the fact that in addition to constantly looking for new publishers to help, we're always looking for volunteers to actually join our demo team. There's no minimum requirement for the amount of time that they spend. It's one of those, the more they put in, the more they get out. And we're constantly recruiting all over. Basically, if you can hear me, you're eligible as long as you're over 18, and you can all you need to have is a passion for board games, and we take care of the rest.
Awesome, awesome, cool. Well, thanks for being on, and thanks everyone for watching and learning a little bit about IGA. So, talk to you later.
Thanks.
Bye.